Hey everyone, can everybody hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Hey, great, great, great. Happy Saturday, everybody. John here, Catch the Moon. Couldn't be more excited to have an opportunity to interview Mr. Brian Vickers. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you right now. How's it going, man?
Hey, I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Sure can. Yeah.
Cool. I got a new setup, so I'm hoping that this works. And if not, I will never do it again.
Coming in loud and clear. Actually,
Oh,
your,
good.
your your audio sounds awesome.
Shout out to Blue, Blue
Bro,
microphones in the house, man.
you even got the pop filter there. That's
Yeah, man. I mean, the funny thing is me and the wife, we have like a miniature podcast, so there's that. So yeah, hopefully
Well, it sounds great, man. Great to have you on here. If you don't mind, I'm just going to give you a little read your bio out, let everybody know who you are, who I have the privilege of talking to here today.
sounds good.
Get things going here. Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know who Brian is, he works as the assistant music supervisor for the Walt Disney Studios in-house theatrical marketing team, the Hive. That's what it's called. He's worked on film marketing campaigns that include both Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Black Panther, The Incredibles 2, and a number of other blockbusters. He's also worked on a number of TV shows that include Keeping Up with the Kardashians, The Bad Girls Club, and The Real World. Brian's extensive career experience ranges from music performance and audio engineering to music supervision and licensing. He's held positions with companies throughout the music industry that include the Recording Academy, Bunham Murray Productions, BMG Production Music, Hidden Beach Recordings, and one of Hollywood's top trailer houses, Trailer Park Inc. As a performer, Brian appeared with the group Afro Blue on season 3 of the NBC show The Sing Off, finishing 4th place behind the Grammy award-winning group Pentatonics. He has also performed alongside such musical legends as Smokey Robinson and Bobby McFerrin. He's also a proud native of Birmingham, Alabama, and a proud alumni of both Howard University and Full Sail University. With an undeniable passion for music, Brian continues to work with aspiring artists and musicians to bring out the very best in their music. Awesome, man. Anything you'd add to that? Any update or anything?
Quick note. I guess I must have given you guys an older, slightly older bio, but it's a music soup now. So, because I know I came in over there as an assistant music soup, but currently, yes, I work as a music supervisor.
Incredible, man. Keep climbing the ladder.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah. That's great. So I just have a few questions just so we're going to do so everybody knows what we do. This is what we usually do. I introduce whoever comes on, ask a few questions, then I'll just open it up for the whole class to ask whatever is on their minds, because I'm sure they're going to come to you with, probably better questions than I even ask. So we'll just get rolling here. What's your day-to-day like as a music supervisor in the Hive?
All right. Yeah, man. First of all, what's happening, everybody? Good to be here. As always, I enjoy it. Day to day, it honestly varies. All right. I think that when people hear music supervisor, there are a lot of different things that go to mind. I think mostly people understand the job as being what I actually spend most of my time doing, which is listening to music like just about all day. Listening to music to fit our spots and whatever the spots may be. Typically we'll have meetings with our producers and our creative team. But I actually spend a good chunk of my day either listening to music, which might come from libraries, music libraries. It might come from labels. It might come from production companies or whatever. We spend a good time of that listening, but also working directly with the editors. Sometimes the editors will have meetings as well with our creative team, and they'll say, hey, here's the spot that I'm working on. I need something that sounds like XYZ. So that's a part of the job. Another part of the job that I actually think really is kind of the most important part is organization and organizing the assets that come in. We'll usually get, it's so funny because I know a lot of times people will reach out like, hey, I got music. Imagine that from, indie artists, from labels, from publishers, from everyone all day. So it becomes very, very critical that we have a system in place to keep control of that, because we literally move at the speed of light. not literally, but whatever. I like as you mentioned in the bio, I did work on the TV side, and I've also worked for a pitch house as well, which was BMG. And the thing about both of those sides is everything has to be very, very quick, has to be very quick and very deliberate. So I spent a good part of the day organizing our music server, reaching out to our editors, letting them know, all right, let's try this, let's try this. We also deal with a lot of custom music requests. So if custom music requests come in, it will literally be us on the phone with composers saying, here's the idea, here's what we're going for. And then the composer will say, all right, well, I have a question. We'll say, all right, cool, let's do this. They'll send music. And, we just fine tune it as, we get closer. And mind you, all of that is done without them seeing any visual. I know a lot of people think like, oh, well, send me your cut and, and then I'll score it per se. Not the case with our projects because we're working on such, high level IP that we can't send anything out. Usually only a very small select group get to come in and see the spot as is and cater it from there. But more often than not, we never send out, visuals, because imagine like right now we're, I'm sure you guys know, but we're like literally knocking on the door for Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. So we literally have been in grind mode for that. But everyone that we work with kind of understands the flow. And that would be one of my first kind of big talking points, which is there's a difference in the trailer sound versus the sound that you guys would normally do for TV or for film or commercials or ads or whatever the case may be. Trailer sound is a beast all in itself, which isn't to say like, oh, don't do it. No, please. But just know that you're getting into a completely different kind of groove in that lane. So hopefully that kind of answers a little bit of it.
It sure does. Well, it sounds like it's all over the place, and by necessity of like what you need to do to actually get the job done. Mm-hmm. It's so cool to. I mean, I didn't even really think of like kind of the confidential aspect of what it is that you're doing, and that there is a certain amount of trust that perhaps you need with composers who understand what you typically need in certain situations in order to turn stuff around fast enough on a custom level without seeing the picture.
It's at times, to be perfectly honest, it's at times very frustrating because, we'll get clients to say, okay, guys, we're working on shipping this spot or we're working on this spot and we need it by Friday. Okay. So you need the music by Friday and it's Thursday evening. All right. I wish that I was joking, but it happens a lot. We do work with a lot of foreign composers. So a lot of times, we'll get on the phone with someone who might have a US rep and we're talking to them at about maybe 5 or 6 p.m. LA time. And their composer will be in England or in, Prague or wherever they might be. And yeah, the turnaround time, I think, is really the key, because at that point, it's not a matter of, all right, do I know how to do trailer music? It's a matter of, hey, we really need this to land in a hurry. So I think that part of it, that's why typically when I talk to people about custom work, it's a different conversation because there's such a different, it's a different sound. It's a different beast. But I know for what a lot of you guys are doing, if you're looking to get your sound, or if you're looking to maybe cater your material toward trailers, we can have a conversation about that. But please understand there's a difference from songs that are a pretty decent fit for trailers versus trailer music. All right. It does hopefully, I don't know, maybe everybody shake your head if you get it. Like, yeah, I get it. But
there's a certain like difference from what I understand you're saying. There's a difference between perhaps something that's like written for trailers and the actual trailerization of the song for
correct
use to picture on like a spot of some kind.
Correct. Yeah, there is a difference. Now a trailerization typically is making a song fit the style of a trailer. So that might be, I was watching a trailer for shoot. There's this film that I just saw a trailer this week. I can't remember what it was, but they used the song "Toxic" by Britney Spears, and it was purely played on like a cello or something. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But the way that they do it is instead of the traditional format where you have verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Instead of that, you basically will slow build it out into 3 acts ordinarily. So that might mean you're doing a 3 act bill. Everything is going to be, by the way, when I say 3 acts, I literally mean like, imagine splicing the song up. You only have 2 minutes and 30 seconds just about, or 2 minutes, 45 seconds to really drive the point home. So maybe in your first, from the beginning of the song to maybe 30 or 45 seconds, you have your act one, and then you'll have a stop down, and you guys know what a stop down is. It's literally as it sounds, da, 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 ding, about that. Like if you're speaking in musical terms, it would be the equivalent of like maybe a fermata, but you have that second section. We're getting a little bit bigger. We build on what we did in the first section. We build it up and get bigger. We have another stop down. And then in our third act, we have a big throw in the kitchen sink moment where we're doing these big, huge pieces. So I know somebody put in there the difference from trailer versus normal. Imagine a song that you hear on the radio all the time, whether it can be, Alanis Morissette, it can be, DMX, it can be LL Cool J, whatever. And then you'll hear the song that and they'll use these big, huge drums in the background or put some big brass on it or whatever. Those are songs that have been trailerized versus songs that just feel a little bit more orchestral. A good example is the trailer that our team did for the film Artemis Fowl. If you guys get a chance, go check that one out. We used the Radiohead song Deck's Dark, and we got a composer to do a trailerization of that where you'll hear the actual song and then you'll hear it become this whole different thing. So, there's a good portion of that happens all over trailers. So
that is such cool intel. So you're talking about like a lot of the tracks that get pitched to you or that just are in your library have this kind of, it's almost like the sandbox that people who trailerize songs kind of play by typically, like a 30-second build up, and then it goes to like a sort of a button ending of sorts, and then it builds back up like a little bit bigger, but not holding some things back. And then the third round, it's just like everything crazy. Totally makes sense. Cause then there might be different levels at which you want to use this. And you might want to go from like the beginning part to the third part to like increase the contrast in something, or you might want to go from second to third act. Well,
the key in a situation like that is really to we want to give our editors as much freedom to do their thing as possible, because they might hear a song that has the traditional 3-act bill and they might say, I like what happens on this section, but I don't like what happens here. So typically when people submit music, if our guys like it, we'll ask for stems. I always want to tell everyone, no matter whether it's for TV, for film, like no matter what, keep your stems and keep them handy. If you have a track that you feel pretty good about, always keep your stems and keep them readily available and keep them in different formats as well. Because sometimes, on our end, we only use high-res stuff. We only want, waves and eighths. I lean a little bit toward eighths because the metadata tends to convert a little bit easier. But always keep your stems because, sometimes they might like, I really like the drum on that part, but I want to try something else. And, you never know. Whatever our goal is, just to inspire, creativity, however it comes. So, yeah.
This is all so invaluable to anybody who's like thinking of potentially trying to get into the trailer world and making music for trailers. Got another question for you. Like how many, like just ballpark, how many like spots are you typically working on in a year in the Hive?
Ooh, in a year.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh God, man.
If that's too much, maybe a week or a month. I don't know. Like it's just cool to kind of get an idea of like what's the volume you're talking about.
Well, I'll say this because as you guys know, Disney has had a really interesting year, in acquiring Fox. So we went from, I think last year we were working on specifically on films. I think we went from anywhere to about maybe like 7 or 8 films to now like over 20 maybe. Like the workload is just insane now. So it's and imagine for each film you're working on, and this isn't to say that we're the only ones, just to be clear, we're not the only ones that work on these films. We have to compete against other trailer houses. So even though we're the in-house trailer team, there are times where we will lose out trailer. Like I think people think we exclusively work on all the Disney work. We only work on Disney projects, but we're not the only people that are working on those projects. Like for example, we worked on that was our trailer for Kingsman 2. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a pretty cool trailer. But you know, we had to beat out a couple houses for that. And that part also adds a different thing to, you know, to the creative aspect, because just like, you know, all of you guys are likely competing against other composers and libraries and whatever, we're also competing against other trailer houses to get the ideas in. So to give you an idea, like, man, I don't know if Star Wars is really the best example because that guy is a beast in itself, but I know for a fact that at any given time, like between Star Wars and maybe Avengers, which we worked on earlier this year, it could be anywhere between, you know, 40 to 50 different spots. And that's just, I'm guessing, man, I'm literally ballparking because I know those are two of our heavier campaigns. And those are the only 2 projects that our team exclusively works on. It's just the Star Wars saga films. And when I mean saga, I mean like the Skywalker stuff. So episodes, you know, 7, 8, 9, and Infinity War and Endgame. So needless to say, a lot of work. A lot of work, but also we do some behind the scenes stuff, some content stuff. So it can be a bit challenging, you know, a little bit.
Are you pretty excited to hopefully you get a little bit of time off here over the holidays? Is there a little bit of a lull with that? Or?
Time off. I've heard of such things. It must be great. Well, and that also is kind of the thing about having movies released around Christmas. You're still going to be pushing some spots. Now, I mean, things may slow down just a tad before we get into the new year, but you know, I foresee us still kind of moving ahead, you know, because yeah, let's see, even Christmas, we got a couple, and the thing about the Disney Fox thing also is we still have a couple films competing against one another. Like we got on one end, we got Star Wars, which is of course humongous, but we also got Spies in Disguise now because that's, you know, that's from Blue Sky, and that's another Disney company now. So, yeah, we haven't done as much work on that one, but you know, we still, when it comes through the door, we still get to work on it. And yeah, we'll hit the ground running in a hurry because we got stuff coming out in March, and it's a nonstop train, that thing, man, you know? So
I guess it's good to be busy. But
yeah.
Everybody's got to find their times to sneak it in, right? The time off thing.
Oh yeah. Our team is literally 3 people. There's me, one other supervisor, and our assistant music supervisor. And I think after this week, he's going to take a 2-week vacay, which I'm very excited for. And our assistant music super is taking a couple days off this week. So we try to get in our breaks where we can get them, you know.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Now, I've had the pleasure of hearing you speak a couple of times at Catch the Moon events and some of the advice that you've given. I mean, as an audience member at the time, I remember like some of the stuff is like really stuck to me. Things like one thing in particular that you told a group that I was in attendance for was something along the lines of like kind of like every 4 bars you want to kind of have, you know, some type of shift.
Right.
Then every 8 bars you want to have like a larger kind of like dramatic shift in what you're doing. Like that was just one thing that I remember you saying. Like I guess the question here is like things like that. Like what are the types of things that when you're listening to music, because you hear so much of it, what are the types of things that like kind of like we'll say, oh, this is a song that really grabs me and this is something that's really working versus one that doesn't feel like it really builds as much. Like what are some of the differences and some of the things that you kind of identify as things that successful songs have versus ones that maybe could be a little stronger?
Yeah, man. That's a very good question. I know the last time I did an event with you guys, I think it was the Sync catchers, grabbers,
Sink keepers.
Keepers. Yes, thank you.
Close.
Right. All right. When I did that, there was a tune that was played, and the one thing that stuck out to me first of all was the production value. Anything that plays first and foremost has to sound ready to go. And what that means is you should be able to play your song on the radio. Well, when you play your song, you should be able to play 3 or 4 of the songs that are on the radio right now, and everything should feel, consistent. And I know that often I think that is due to the mix. Never underestimate the mix, guys. Like, I think sometimes people get so wrapped up in the creative part that they overlook a couple of the technical aspects, like why is your drum so low, or why are the vocals sitting on top of everything and it feels like you went in, you put your vocal in after you put everything else. Don't underestimate the mix at all. I think that definitely is one thing that automatically catches our eye, like whether, and I don't want to say it's unfair, but I know that if you guys are going after some of these big syncs, yes, you're going to be competing against, a artist that's a new unsigned artist on Universal, or you're going to be competing against this artist from Atlantic. Well, I don't have the firepower to compete against them. Well, if you got a good song, you do. But I know that definitely starts with having good production value on your song and making sure that you're doing things within the song to stand out. I know when I heard a lot of songs, needless to say, I get to catch a ton of songs, whatever. But one thing that I hear that's a bit of a mistake from a lot of up and comers is people almost write songs for syncs. Now, the trick to that is you can do that, but you cannot sound too tongue-in-cheek. It should sound like a song, but incorporate things in there that make it sync friendly. I hope that makes sense. Like, the goal shouldn't be to, all right, I'm gonna write a song for a McDonald's commercial. Here we go. I love Big Macs. Okay. Like, let's calm down. The goal should instead, if you're writing a song for McDonald's, maybe write a song about feelings or emotions or something left of center. You know what I mean? Not, when I say left of center, I don't mean weird. I just mean a little unexpected, because I think it becomes very easy to get wrapped in the kind of the minutia of all right, I need this bar to sound like this, and I need this to sound like that. And I know sometimes that's what people are looking for, but I think overall, if a song is good, it can fit in film, it can fit on TV, it can fit on trailers. And those songs are usually songs that don't feel like they're written for sync. So you have to figure out what that means. Sometimes that, like you mentioned, and one thing I always say, diversity in your song. You realistically should have something different every 4 to 8 bars, and when I say something different, maybe that's bringing in a new instrument after 4 bars. Maybe that's bringing in a different melody section. Maybe that's taking something out. Never overlook addition by subtraction. Maybe that's a bridge or whatever the case may be, but find a way to make sure that you're not playing, that you're not doing the Apple C, Apple V production thing. Where you just copy and paste it. And I'm like, I know I can, because when we listen to songs, I literally will press play on it. Kid you not, I roughly, at most, I'll play a song for about 5 or 6 seconds, because I know what I want to hear, how it starts. I want to hear the middle section to hear how big it gets, and I want to hear how it ends. So you have to have something in there to kind of grab people. And please don't misunderstand that in saying, hey, I should get like, I should do something weird every 4 bars. Not saying that. Please don't do something weird every 4 bars. Follow the song and let the song kind of lead you where you want to go. But what if we do love Big Macs? That's pretty funny. If you love Big Macs, cool, but just don't write a song that obviously gives away the idea of what it is that you're trying to say. You know what I mean? So hopefully, let me know, guys, if that makes sense. But try to figure out a way to keep things different. Sometimes it's a matter of bringing in things a little bit slowly. You might start with the piano and then bring in strings. I'm on the trailer side, so I love hearing things that have orchestration, but I know that it's not always necessary. You understand? Sometimes if you're working on a pop record, I should hear a full production, meaning if it's a pop record, I want the synths to sound full. And there's a difference from full and loud. Please don't give me loud. Like loud is, you can't really do much with loud, but full means every instrument can be heard cleanly and clearly, and it all stands out and feels well. Like maybe you're layering your synths, maybe you're layering your bass lines, maybe you're layering, whatever synth that your ARP synths or whatever you're doing. So I know that was a ton, so hopefully
it's great. You were talking about just like making sure you can hear everything and that it's full. It's interesting. I mean, basically you were going back to your feedback. It's like, don't underestimate the mix.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be like the big difference. That's the difference between like making something sit up too high in the mix because it doesn't have like the right place to sit in the mix.
Right.
And it's just like that's maybe one thing that you can do to like having a better mix can help. Your stuff sound more full and not have to put it up into like the stratosphere to get it to come across.
And right quick, I know somebody Bev mentioned like, what about indie? Same idea, man. Like, because think about it, if you listen to a record by Brandy Carlisle or Ingrid Michaelson, of course, like she's like a sync darling. Like if you listen to those records, even if they're not using every instrument in the studio, the stuff still sounds so big. Florence and the Machine, same thing. Like now, granted, all of those are major artists, but I'm talking in terms of just the sound. Even who's the group that I recently I heard? These groups, they come in my ear and out the other. But no matter what it is, you still have to find a way to make it sound as full. And like every track should sound like you spent big money on it. And I know a lot of times that comes down to the engineer that you're hiring or the mastering, don't underestimate. I don't care if it's just you and a guitar, like it should sound very rich. The goal is for it to sound rich, and even if it's just a guitar and put a bass line on it. Why not put a bass? Maybe you don't like a regular bass, upright bass. Maybe you want like a standing, walking jazz kind of thing. But play around with different things. But yes, please figure out a way to not make your stuff sound like all 100 other tracks that we're gonna get. Oh, the band was Holy Child. Yeah, Holy Child. They got a pretty dope track. Now I'm just naming groups, but whatever.
That's great. And another point that you make is like, just not being like hitting things too much on the nose. And
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, so you're saying like when you're writing for sync, it's okay to write for sync, but write something that's on theme, fresh and authentic, but it's not like too on the nose.
I'll say this, man. I know, and I'm sure you guys do this assignment a lot, because I remember a lot of people will reach out like, hey man, I got a song. And I'm like, all right, cool. It's a song about home. The name of it is Home. All right. And it's not to say that you shouldn't do that, but I think that the songs that really stick out the most shouldn't automatically feel. Now, yes, home can be mentioned if that's what you're doing, but your challenge as a writer is really to figure out how you can incorporate the feeling. I think that's really what catches a lot of music supervisors is the feeling of a song. Like I've been in rooms where me and a bunch of soups have listened to some stuff, and everybody gravitates to songs that make them feel something without explicitly saying. If you're doing a song about home, maybe you're talking about a relationship at home, or maybe you're casually throwing it out instead of home is the best thing ever. Home. Like, okay, God. Like now, granted, once again, for ads, I know that stuff can work, and I know that is a thing. But once again, my goal is to get you guys to think in terms of more than just one lane. It might not be just it might not be just ads, but it might be, like I said, movies, trailers, like Netflix and Hulu, all those guys, like, because everybody's looking for stuff, but you have to figure out a way to not make it sound typical. So
yeah. Well, everybody better be ready to like give Brian some songwriting credit. That home is the best thing ever. That's catchy, man. That's catchy.
I mean, look, and that's a lane too, man. Like the catchy stuff, of course, there's a lane for that as well, man. Like literally in ads, that's what they look for. Like they want something. You only got like 15 to 30 seconds to snag somebody. So, like you guys know, like the bubblegum stuff that sticks. Sometimes it's a matter of repetition. Sometimes but understand that is different from each style is different. All right. Each thing that you're writing, maybe have a goal in mind. Like, you know what, I think this actually would be better for a short film, or, oh, well, maybe this might actually be better for, a TV show, or whatever. But I think that's the goal, because, and this is slightly unrelated, but I know when it comes to whenever I talk to, people who are looking to get into it, one big thing that they always do is say, I got to find as many music supervisors as I can and give them my stuff. And in actuality, I think it might be a good idea to kind of reverse engineer that thinking and say, all right, if I want my stuff synced, what is on TV already that sounds like my stuff? Okay, I was watching Nashville the other night, and they played a song that sounds exactly like a song I wrote 2 years ago. Maybe I hit up this music supervisor on Nashville. Oh, man, it's crazy. I got a hip-hop track that I think will be great on Empire. Who's working on Empire? Let's go there. Or, oh, man, I got this track that, it feels very Twin Peaks. All right, well, see who did Twin Peaks and go from there. Like, figure out. I think that becomes an easier way to think, because I know I get a lot of people and I might be ranting at this point, but I know I get a lot of people who say, and God bless y'all, because I know it's probably going to happen again. Like, I got a Disney song. It's the perfect Disney song. And I'm like, all right, cool. But you got to remember that Disney now is using everything from literally from Radiohead to, to Black Sabbath. So there's no, huh?
So what is a Disney song?
You know what I mean? Like, I know that people are, and I understand where they're coming from. They're coming from the idea of, yeah, man, I grew up watching Bambi and Aladdin, and I grew up watching Lady and the Tramp, and I grew up watching, this film. So naturally you're thinking, oh, well, this is the sound that you guys go for. But there's a difference in the sound that we look for trailers versus what I'm sure my coworkers are looking for that work on, Disney Channel or Freeform or, or ABC. It's such a conglomerate of a company now that there's not one sound, if you will.
Totally makes sense. And what you're talking about, it's like finding out like what's actually getting used, like where is their demand? How can I take the skills that I have and best put them to use in the music industry and be open to that? Like,
oh, of course. Yeah.
Such a great way to look at things.
Yeah. Know your strengths and weaknesses, guys. If you know that you make, indie pop, figure out who's doing indie pop and figure out like who's working on show, which everybody is using indie pop just about. So maybe you cater to that. Maybe you say, I grew up listening to reggae. I'm sure somebody is looking for reggae at some point somewhere, but that's a better use of your time than just saying, hey man, I got a reggae song, Mr. Music Supervisor or Miss Music Supervisor, even though I know you mostly use female empowerment punk rock. All right, well,
good point. I mean, you can collect as many like names and contacts as
certainly
until you're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, like, are those contacts necessarily valuable if what you have to offer them is nothing that they can actually put to use?
Certainly. And also, shoot, I keep jumping ahead, but also one thing that I mentioned it, at St. Keepers, I got it right this time, guys. One thing that I also mentioned is use your network, guys. Use your network. Everyone here likely works on something different, and you really never know. I know some of you guys probably could benefit from the strengths and weakness, well, the strengths of others. If you know that some of y'all probably have been in the industry for years and years, and some of y'all are probably a little bit newer, like maybe work on collaborating with one another, listen to one another, and listen to what you guys are doing. And honestly, the further one thing is from another, likely the better the outcome, because that's how great things happen. Like there's a there's an album that just dropped yesterday by this cat that I'm a huge fan of. His name's Anderson .Paak, and the name of his band is the Free Nationals. They dropped a band, and when you hear them, they're so eclectic, and it's so many bands, and I honestly think that that's where music is going. We're going to a place where the lines are the lines are getting so blurred when it comes to genres. So it really is a matter of you guys working with one another, man. Like, work with different individuals. If you rap, maybe work with somebody who does strings. If you do pop, and maybe work with somebody who does bluegrass. Who knows? Like, cool things come as a result of that. So don't underestimate your network. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. It's such an important thing to connect with other people, and there's so much good that can come from like collaboration. Kathy and I preach that like all day and night.
Oh yeah, man.
Like it's such an important thing. You can get so much more done, and you get such a different perspective working with other people. And
right.
You know, obviously if you can work with people who have experiences in different things and you can learn from them, and you can teach other people, it's pretty amazing, man.
It's a big thing.
Yeah. I got a couple other questions for you. Then I'm just going to open it up to the chat here.
All right, cool.
First thing, I guess, like, any tips you would give on, you know, just kind of, I know you touched upon a couple of things that you like that are happening in music right now, but anything like that you're noticing trends wise in the trailer world that might be valuable for somebody to know if they want to start like trying to make music that's for trailers?
Yeah. One thing that's still trendy, are trailerized covers, you know, and I know it can be tricky because people have a habit of covering the same songs over and over again. You know, like, I mean, look, man, it's only so many times that we can listen to Happy Together. Like, good grief, man. Like, I mean, it's a good song, but shoot, like, maybe that's up to you guys to figure out, what song did I like growing up? Cool. How do I interpret it differently? Maybe it could be something. I know not long ago I was listening to some covers, and this cat did a bleak cover of Bill Withers' Lovely Day. I'm like, wow, this is really, really cool. Like, maybe that's a way of thinking. It doesn't have to be taking something and going opposite. Maybe it's a song that was a really popular B-sider, or, you know, or something like that. I know that that's a big thing. Right now, we're kind of gravitating heavily toward this neoclassical sound. And what does that look like? Sometimes it's you do your song, but you have a violinist do a solo, or some kind of, you know, like an ostinato in there, or whatever, for all my peeps, like just a musical phrase that just kind of keeps repeating, you know, like I'm seeing a lot of that. And one thing that I always recommend, since I work in trailers, please look at trailers, guys. Like, yeah, I mean, I go to the movies like a lot, and my wife knows that I can be irritable if we're not there in time for the trailers, because not only do I want to see what people are doing, I want to see what that sounds like in the room, because I know I can sit at home and watch a trailer, but it's not the same thing as being in a loud room, you know, and hearing other people react, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I definitely, oh, that's cool. They got a trailer channel. That sounds pretty. It makes sense because, yeah, overseas, Cosmo said that Apple TV has a trailer channel. That makes sense. But it definitely is a thing. Like, you should be in there to see what people are doing, and to hear those trends, and to hear where people are going. So those two things, I think, would probably be the biggest thing. If covers are still a thing, but if you're covering something, I know for a while we went through the sexy, breathy voice thing, you know, where everybody was like, oh, I'm going to take a song that you know and just put a sexy, breathy voice. It's not completely gone away, but, you know, it really just depends on what you're bringing to the table, and just making it feel as big and huge as you can. So.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great intel. Just one other follow-up, and then we'll open it up to the chat. Anything you would suggest, like, in terms of, like, because this made me think, if you're sitting in the theater and you're really like feeling the low end, I'm sure there's something sonically that you need to take into account when you're balancing and kind of mixing the low end on your tracks.
Oh, man.
Is there anything that you notice, or just things that might be valuable that you hear that could help people who are trying to make music that has a really satisfying low end, like such a huge environment, kind of translate the way that they want it?
Right. just don't kick us in the face with your bass lines. All right, guys, like don't like, and I know it's easy to get wrapped up in it because, that's one thing I know about a lot of current tech, whether it's headphones or our phones or whatever, like a lot of that stuff caters to low end. But just remember, the more low end you use, the less headroom you have for everything else.
Mm.
So you have to figure out a way to make it feel big and rich um without being too boomy. And I know a lot of times that really can come from sometimes it's not the actual instrument that you're playing. Sometimes it might just be putting a low tone underneath at different points. The guys who do the trailer thing the best, they're very good at knowing how to keep the bass on the leash. You understand? Like you can't, and I get it. Sometimes it's good to have that. And when I say bass, I mean your bass as well as your deep kick, when your kicks for your drums and anything that sits in that lower register, you cannot overdo it. And it becomes easy. But one or two things, usually it's a matter of the compression and how you guys are compressing those things. And once again, this is why I'm like, please, if you find a good engineer, keep them and keep them close, because that will ultimately be what can be the difference in how you in how your mixes come through. But mastering is still important, very, because I know sometimes, man, it sounded great on my headphones at home. But yeah, but if you didn't get it mastered, you kind of run that risk of things sounding a little bit different. So yeah, I definitely keep an eye on your bass, your kicks. Understand that there's a difference from big and loud. We want big and we want full and we want rich. That doesn't mean loud. Now I know that's specific to trailers, but I would imagine that note goes for any music that goes anywhere. So
That all really like helpful. Thank you
yeah,
so much, man.
certainly.
I'm just gonna open it up to the chat. I think we got like about 20 minutes here. Let's get some questions. Feel free to raise your hand if you want to just ask the question. I see John, you got a hand raised here. Let's go ahead and unmute you. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks. Hold on just a second. No feedback on that.
The headphones, those headphones are clutch.
We'll get back to you, man. We'll get back to you.
Right quick, I can intercept this question because I know somebody asked,
sure.
Are there any shows or films? And currently, Christina said, are there any shows or films you're currently looking for music for? What genre do you mostly use or look for besides trailer music? Typically, that's what we use because I'm on the trailer side. So we typically go after trailer cues and trailer music. And there are a lot of libraries and a lot of companies that specialize in that. And you can find a lot of those guys on, on YouTube. You can listen at what that sounds like. Are there genres? It literally depends on the day of the week. Like, we're working on Mulan, so stuff kind of has a little bit of an Asian flair. And we're also working on another kind of Asian themed animation project next year. So but here's the tricky thing for that, the notes are different. Like, it's not as expected. While it might sound Asian in nature, it's something different. So it kind of varies. So it really just depends on the track that you have and the direction that you're going. So you want to try back to John again?
Hey, John, are you there? Let me unmute you. Hang on.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, man.
Yeah, I was losing battery, so I started another device and was trying to make the transition right as you went to.
Okay, that's okay. I think we got you now.
Didn't want to lose it. Hey, first let me say, man, congratulations on a record year with Disney, man. Over $7 billion at the box office, and I'm in Endgame, and I just took my daughter to see Frozen 2, and this is like
nice.
life-changing stuff, man. Incredibles 2, Aladdin. You guys are you're killing it, man.
I appreciate it.
It's awesome. So So I had a question for you about the trailers.
Mhm.
What's more useful to you, like traditional trailer, like instrumental cuts that are like 230 to 245 long, or are you looking more for trailerizable songs, as you were talking about, from like, you know, indie artists and unsigned artists? What's more like, you know, in your radar right now?
Let's see. Typically, everything we get is usually a 2 minute, 30-second cue, 245. It really depends on the project. Like I mentioned, I think sometimes most of the stuff that we go after is in that trailer realm. Do we go after trailer songs? Of course, it really just kind of depends. But here's the crazy part: both of those sounds are similar. You know, even if you're trailerizing a song, it should still sound and feel like a trailer song. Like I should be able to just take out whatever the lyrics are, and it should still be able to feel like a standalone trailer cue. You know, so yeah, like those things are often interchangeable. Now I will say sometimes it has that heavy orchestration element. Like we'll look for cues that have more of a, and it doesn't have to be played by live strings. You guys have enough, you know, plugins now, and the tech is so amazing now where it doesn't have to be live instruments. Like we got a lot of guys that do all that stuff in the box, but it should sound real because our clients can tell. They're very good about, that sounds too MIDI. That sounds, you know, a little bit brittle or whatever. Like they're good about that. So, yeah, you should be able to have those elements, but sometimes we look for hybrid stuff where it can sound a little bit more pop, or it can sound a little bit more aggressive, or, you know, it just kind of depends on the campaign.
Okay. Do you do very much in-house, or is pretty much everything farmed out or picked up from outside composers that are in your network?
We do nothing in-house.
Really?
And when I say in-house, I literally mean, hey man, we got a guy in the basement who just sits at a keyboard and bangs out tracks. Now we don't do that because, you know, we just don't have the manpower, and B, it would be a little bit limiting to us, and it would be crazy if we were to have just one person do it. So we specifically work with outside vendors all day, every day. That's like, we have no choice.
That's awesome.
But even then, those outside vendors are people that we've worked with for years and are familiar with.
Cool. One more follow-up, if you don't mind. You were talking about mixing, and also you just mentioned a lot of people working in the box.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that the trend in sync, a lot of it, not as much trailers, but a lot of it tends to be very up the middle and far left and far right. Mm-hmm. And I like to work in a very three-dimensional sound space that uses the 9 to 10 o'clock part of the spectrum, puts things back further and brings things more in front. Have you seen that change a lot in the last few years? Have you noticed that as a trend, or are trailers? I mean, I go early too, and I listen to the trailers, and I notice, I get about everything being spot on and being able to hear every element. That's a no-brainer. But as far as the mixed format, let's say, have you noticed a lot of change in the last few years about that?
Well, think about this. Wow, I think that's a dope application, and it would be amazing to hear 3D sound. Imagine most of the people who are going to look at trailers are watching it on their laptops, listening on their headphones, on their computers. Like they're just hearing them like on basic traditional, even though it would be great to have like, oh man, I got like binaural, whatever. Right. Most of the people are just hearing it in a basic format. Now, while I think that there is application for that, I think that like even our clients, man, like when we send them cuts, once we're done with them, they're usually just listening to it either on their phone or computer. So it would be great to have. And I'm not saying no, don't do it, but I know that most people are looking at stuff on phones and on TVs and whatever the case may be. So, so yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, where's the final medium? Making sure it translates there is much more important, of course. So
right.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool, well, I really, really appreciate your time. It's been a really interesting talk. And like I said, man, you guys keep up the good work, man. Disney rules.
That's the goal. I appreciate it, man. Certainly. Yeah.
Thanks, John, for the question. Appreciate that. I see you there, Emphatic. What's up?
Oh, muted.
Okay. Hey, guys.
Yeah, there it is. Hey, how we
Hey,
doing?
John. Also, John, thanks for arranging this. Really appreciate it. Brian, thanks for being here. Amazing to see you here. Want to congratulate you too on The Mandalorian. Going really well.
Oh, yeah, man. Thanks. Appreciate it. That's a hip
Um,
background you got there. You went for it. Background. Look at that thing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
My question for you, man, is and it's some to John's. And it sounds a bit dumb to ask, but sometimes you sort of wonder, do you have to submit in Dolby Surround 7.1? And I had that written down, and you sort of answered that question already. But it's interesting to know, do you actually like to hear that before you actually sign something?
I mean, like I said, like I wish that I could, really take advantage of that. But I mean, all day I'm just listening on regular headphones. So even if something is in 7.1, you can kind of hear it, but you don't really get to appreciate that space unless you're in a 7.1 setting. Now, there are times where we will listen to stuff, and if a trailer is making headway and it's going really high up the ladder and we're going to our mix, then yes, we will listen on that. But by that time, it really is something that the team is working on.
So if I had a great track and I didn't have it in 7.1, you guys would maybe redefine that and get it mixed in 7.1? Or would we have to do that?
No, it wouldn't be on you. I can't remember, to be super honest, I can't remember the last time someone submitted to us a track that was in 7.1. Because like I said, like at the rate we move, we really care about the creative, how the song fits, how it feels in the spots. But I know clearly I'm talking to a super, engineering, led team, which is awesome. But no, I don't think it would be worth slowing your process down.
Okay, cool, man.
I think the more important thing are the stems. Like,
cool, mate. I had another couple of things too, and that was two questions. What's the average fee for a successful trailer? And what's your favorite method for receiving tracks? Is disco what you kind of use, or do you prefer any other medium?
Disco is dope. Yeah. I think a lot of people are using that. I probably plugged disco the last time. I need to hit them up for some kind of commission fee. That'd be great. But disco is fine. We use it and because I'm getting that all the time. And even if you guys don't use disco, anything that lets you stream a track before you play it is great. Even if that's like Box or whatever, like if I can stream it before downloading, I think disco is a little more advantageous to you guys as vendors and composers because it allows you to kind of track the analytics a little bit better. But disco is fine. What does a trailer, right? It honestly depends. You mentioned Mandalorian. I'm working primarily on a lot of the Disney Plus campaigns right now. I think technically my title is within Disney Plus, but it varies. I can't really give a strong number because it kind of depends. I know that the streaming budgets are a little bit different from the big theatrical stuff, but if I had to ballpark it, it really depends on the composer and the project. I realistically think that, a track it depends on what you quote, but it could go anywhere from 20K to 50 or 60K, depending, and it just kind of depends on each project, depends on what's being required, the whole nine. But yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for the answers. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. No problem at all.
Thanks.
Background. Nice.
Thanks so much. Anybody else got a question? Let's see what other questions are there. Do you want individual stems or group?
Yeah,
stems?
I just saw that. Thanks for that one, Ali. When we do stems, I know as engineers, it can be easy for you guys to go nuts. All right, we got the drums. We got drums overhead. We got drums left, right. And I'm like, yo, let's take it easy. I think that typically everything should be lumped together. I would say the only times we want things split out is when it comes to our orchestral stuff, because like you can put all your drums. What I would say is drums, percussion, have those two separate. Because oftentimes there might be something in the drums or in the percussion or something in the drums that we don't want or whatever, who knows. But for strings, more often than not, we'll see high strings, low strings, short strings, long strings. you know, and like maybe a string all together, or, you know, even for brass, you know, high brass, low brass. So like typically it's split based on range. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah, we're splitting it that way instead of, you know, string 1, string 2, string 18, like, oh shoot. And at most, I would say on average, we probably get about, you know, 8 to 10 stems. I think anything other than that, you might want to consider, you know, blending, you know, merging some things or whatever. But yeah.
That's a great tip that you can certainly go overboard with that.
Yeah.
Is there, Liz Painter asks, is there anything else we can do to mix a song we already have to be specifically tailored for a trailer?
That's a bit of a tricky question because it really depends more so on the song. Like clearly your mix is going to sound big and full. For trailers, I know we typically tend to go for it when it comes to, well, we typically want to hear it sound big and full and rich, but I don't think that that's going to change no matter what the format is. It really just depends on your song. Like if you have a song that has a lot of low end, it has a lot of, you know, big, you know, instrumentation or whatever, it still should sound big and full no matter what it is. But I don't know if there's a mix, like don't give the trailer setting. I don't know if it's the setting as much as it just depends on the actual song. So yeah.
The trailer button.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, like, oh, trailer play again. Oh God, how easy was
that? Plug in like that. That's crazy.
Oh, I saw. By the way, because I'm still actually going through the chats as well. Thank y'all for all the Mandalorian love. True story, true confession. I have only seen what we've worked on. I haven't, because I know people are like, oh, you get to see everything, don't you? Movies, yes. TV shows, sometimes not. I'm actually waiting till it finishes and then I'll binge it all. But thank y'all for the love. That was our, we worked on an early teaser for that one. So I'm really hyped to hear that. Someone asked, what's 7.1? That's a question from Jared. 7.1 is basically a surround sound format, meaning you have seven different ways to listen to it and one subwoofer. So typically, I think, and I know you guys are going to correct me on this one, but you know, LCR. So we got speaker front, and left, center, the right, and we got 4 in the back, and then we got like a subwoofer. So yeah, I have to. It's been a while since I've broken open my engineering book. But is there a reach you, or is there a way to reach you? I know this one always becomes important. I know you guys always are like, hey man, I want to get you my stuff, man. I want to, you know, get you your typically I direct everybody to go to my LinkedIn because I think it's a little bit easier for me to keep up with, and it's not easy because there's a ton of submissions that come through there. But like I said, I'm cool with you guys reaching out, but just remember, like, since I'm on the trailer side, it's such a specific sound that we're looking for. And it's not to say, you know, oh, well, don't submit, but it is a very specific sound. So yeah, there's that. Still going through. I'm sorry.
And I just would say like one thing quickly, Brian, that like Kathy and I just like really make it a point that like, if you don't have music that is really on target for what the recipient like can really do with it, then basically all you can do is just kind of like introduce yourself.
Yeah, man.
But like sending music, which is fine, but just keep in mind, please don't send. It's just something we suggest. Just don't send music that there really isn't a chance that they can use, because it just, you know, it's in a way it's like it's not totally disrespectful, but it's like it's also kind of like there's nothing that can really happen with it.
Yeah, man, and also understand that if it's something that I can't use, that man, it's a ton of supervisors around town, and everybody works on different stuff, man. Some guys are playlist curators, and some people are, you know, doing stuff for Netflix and Hulu and all of these different, a lot of different spots, man. So someone asked if I take cinematic rock. It depends on the track. You know, I have to have a 3-act bill. I want it to bill big. I can't stress enough, bill big. And I also recommend, first and foremost, it's just like anything else, man. Like if you really, really wanted to play football, it'd probably be a good idea to go check out some NFL games and see what's going on there. You feel me? check YouTube and give a listen. I can give a list of some libraries that I certainly recommend giving a listen to. And I really think that would be a good option instead of directly saying, this is it. Like, I can give a couple. I'll start typing a couple of them in. If
awesome. Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah. I don't know anything else in the meantime.
Let's see. Well, Jared, I do want to check to see. We're kind of out of time, but let's just see real quick, Jared. I see you still have your hand raised. Let's go ahead and unmute you. Did you have your question answered in the chat already, or you got?
No. So it's funny. I raised my hand and I put it back down because John kind of asked my question, but I got another question afterwards. But Brian, man, I appreciate you bringing here. I was excited about this session in particular because your name sounded really familiar. And I saw you were a Full Sail alumni as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think I graduated, a year after you. I'm still out here in Orlando.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Full 7.
Come on, man.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Yeah. Shoot, man. Full Sail they are a crew. It's a bajillion people out here.
Yeah, it's impressive. Also saw you were out in the DMV area too. That's my old stomping ground.
Oh yeah. I went to Howard, so there's that.
Yeah. But my question was, I know, and I'm trying to understand too, because from what you were saying, it seems like you guys select tracks from, catalogs or libraries that kind of have that 3-act, kind of build out for you already prepped. Is that
right?
Kind of a fair to say? So, and I've seen too certain instances where certain trailers, they might use like a few different songs kind of within one trailer. And so,
yeah,
because my original question was, do you guys take the 3-act build, or do you also take, maybe artist tracks that just are very well produced, kind of meet, certain, aesthetic that you guys are looking for, and send it to an editor to kind of get, trailerized? Or is it like even those trailer houses are taking multiple tracks and kind of doing a montage to kind of build out for that 3-act scenario, if that makes sense?
That's a pretty good question as well. Yeah, thanks for that one. Okay, so let me see. I'm trying to figure out the best way to tackle this one. All right. When you understand that a 3-act track, just imagine, for the sake of time and everything, we want it to be a 3-act trailer queue. Just imagine any track, it's going to be a 3-act trailer queue, 3 parts. All right. They may build, and here's what happens sometimes. Even if the music is 3 acts, sometimes the trailer is only 2 acts. So somebody might like, the first 2 acts and use a different song on the back end. So at the end of the day, you still want your track to have that 3-act build. You want that to be the direction that you're going. And if the editor, on our end, if the editor hears something and they're like, you know what, let's use a different track or let's go a different direction, that's on them. But your job as a composer would be to just make the song as if you want every song to do it. Now, when you're thinking about trailerizing songs, even then, it still is going to follow that 3-act build. You understand? Like if you're doing like a DMX song, you're still going to have that slow, sparse intro. We slowly build it in the middle and we get big at the end. I always tell people that when we look at your waveforms should basically look like one big growing, like a big Pac-Man kind of thing here. Like, man, I can't do that with one hand, but like this guy, like it should just be growing. All right. Because our goal is constantly to build. Sometimes you don't have the stop downs. So it'll grow and just keep growing throughout. But yeah, the goal should be to push it big. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm understanding, like, again, like say it was a DMX song or something like that, you found a song that you liked, like, it would be submitted to you as kind of the build, or you would take the DMX track as it. Okay.
No,
so you would have to fashion it to build up.
Correct. We always would have, like, I mean, if I need a DMX song, I can get a DMX song. That's easy. But I want the new track to have that to crescendo. Exactly. I want more or less a crescendo. Yeah. But to just depending on how the track goes, it should make sense. It should be a big gradual build. Case in point, if you get a chance to listen, a trailer just came out like maybe last week for a film called Free Guy. It's a new Fox film coming up. Ryan Reynolds. The movie looks crazy. It's amazing. They use the song Fantasy by Mariah Carey, and in it you'll hear how the editor uses the song. Now the editor did that, but when you hear, that's a great example of a trailerized song, because what happens is they play the song and then eventually the action kicks in and you hear the big drums and you hear the da 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 da. And I think all of you guys could actually benefit from really getting as good of an understanding of, on the trailer side, of sound design. Get good at sound design. Know how to use your swells, your rises. When you get out of a phrase, you should be able to swell into the next phrase and use your, crescendos, timpani rolls, all of that kind of stuff. But the key is to make it sound big and full. And yeah, sometimes you can accomplish that with sound design. We just got something that I was listening to yesterday, and the whole album uses gun cocks. Chick chick digga 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 chick chick digga, like, and they're making full beats using all of those things, and we use that stuff because America, we're gonna have more movies that use guns. So yeah.
I got one more question if I got time. Does that last, like the final,
third act,
or whatever that gets, like, well, not even that, like, when it gets put up on, the trailer is finished, is out to the world. Does that last final trailer song become a new composition in a sense? Like, if we're talking about like PRO stuff, if it's getting re-edited and all that, does it become a new master and all, what I mean?
That's a tricky question. That's more on the licensing side. It kind of depends on the deal, but more or less it would. But what we typically do, are you talking about a trailerized song of an existing song?
No, so I'm saying, like, since sometimes it can go through different phases. Say, there is a trailerized song that gets to you, but then by the end of it, it's like, there's another piece that gets added, but that's what the public hears. Is that new collage of a track become its own thing? You know what I mean? Even if it's like with multiple tracks.
Right.
Okay.
Typically, I would say yes, because to give an example, the movie Us, right? In Us, they used the song "I Got Five" on it by the Loonies. And it was amazing. So they used the song, but they added like this whole other thing, and that kind of became its own thing. More often than not, if the song is a pre-existing song, the addition, the company Us would likely buy it out. All right, we likely would buy out whatever that song is, and the original song still kind of is its own thing, because there are instances where libraries will submit trailer tracks and we're like, hey guys, can you customize this? Can you do something different to your song in your library that exists? So yeah, it does become a new master, but we likely would buy out the customized version while that original version is still on the people. But once again, it kind of depends on what it is. I know for all the Star Wars stuff, as soon as a John Williams interpolation gets played, it's up to us, it's ours, because John Williams.
Right. Appreciate it, man. That was really helpful, bro. Thank you.
Good. Keep killing.
That was great. So many great questions from everybody. Thank you so much for everybody for your questions. And thank you, Brian. Yeah, man. I appreciate you joining us. Hopefully I see you at the next Sync Keepers. Are you coming in February?
We'll see. We are expecting child. Child is the due date for that trailer submission is in February. So I don't know. Just to be safe, I'm like, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, for sure, man. Well,
so we'll see.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations on all your success, and I'm sure we'll have you back at some point when life permits.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little girl, because I know somebody asked, so we're excited. She's gonna be singing. It'll be great.
That's so exciting. All right. Well, have a fantastic rest of your weekend.
Certainly.
Have a great weekend, everybody. And until next time, catch you later.
Thanks so much, guys.